House of the Dragon. 10 more hidden details you missed. For the fans, the prequel of Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, was long awaited. The plot is about King Viserys of the House of Targaryen, the undeniable king of Westeros, and the surrounding nations over 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones. But when he designates his daughter, Rhaenyra, as his heir, he starts a chain of events that, many years down the road, will result in a tense conflict over who gets to reign on the Iron Throne. Those who have watched the series know how thrilling it was. Here are some of the hidden details you may have missed while watching the series. Balerion, the Black Dread. Aegon the Conqueror rode Balerion, the biggest dragon in Westeros, to lay siege to the Seven Kingdoms. When Viserys declared Rhaenyra to be his heir, his skull was visible. Viserys tells that Balerion the Black Dread was the final living thing to leave Valyria before the Doom and was the biggest dragon in the post-conquest age. The king asks his daughter about her perceptions of his remains. The Targaryens, Rhaenyra responds, are what she sees. She understands that their family has influenced the kingdoms because they can manage the terrifying beast. They are as magnificent as they're terrifying, and Viserys wonders why his people ever sought to tame them. Balerion also forged the Iron Throne with his fiery breath, described as black. Despite his involvement in absolute furiosity, Balerion died peacefully of old age shortly before Viserys became ruler. Balerion's skull might be seen in Game of Thrones in the dungeons below the Red Keep. Strangely, Balerion's skull in House of the Dragon was much larger than in Game of Thrones. The Dark Sister. In House of the Dragon, 2 Valyrian steel swords appear black fire, owned by Viserys, and Prince Daemon Targaryen's sword is called Dark Sister. Daemon uses Dark Sister while playing a jousting game with Sir Criston Cole. The sword once belonged to Visenya, Aegon the Conqueror's sister. Dark Sister was a weapon Visenya commonly used in combat, although she eventually gave it to her son, Maegor the Cruel. King Jaehaerys Targaryen eventually used the blade taken from Maegor. Daemon takes ownership of the sword seriously and receives Dark Sister from Jaehaerys. Daemon Targaryen presents an ornament to Rhaenyra, saying it is like Dark Sister. While pretending to be a servant girl in Game of Thrones, Arya Stark discusses this sword with Tywin Lannister. Red Keep. There are secret passageways underneath the Red Keep. Rhaenyra obtains a map from the peasant's clothes her uncle left, leading her to a hidden tunnel beneath her bed. The Red Keep is a network of secret passageways connecting all castle areas. That's how Varys' little birds could spy on all of Red Keep's residents, and how Tyrion himself could gain access to Tywin's rooms and murder Shae. Maegor the Cruel ordered their construction. When the Red Keep was finally finished, Maegor invited all workers in the castle to a great feast. At the end, he had them all killed to ensure the secrets of the Red Keep remained his and his alone. In Game of Thrones, Jaime Lannister ran into his sister, Queen Cersei, along the same hidden corridor. The lovers died in each other's arms at that palace. Promise me. Viserys urges Rhaenyra to keep the dragon dream secret and pass it on to her successors. When he describes it, "Will you promise me, Rhaenyra?" he asks. Lyanna Stark made a similar request to her brother Ned when he discovered her dying at the Tower of Joy after giving birth to Jon Snow. Ned returned home declaring Jon to be his bastard son rather than his true-born nephew because he had vowed to his sister that he would protect the child and his bloodline. 2 promises are interconnected: Jon's status and Aegon's dream. Aegon named his dream a Song of Ice and Fire because he believed that only a Targaryen on the Iron Throne, the fire, could lead to the realm's victory over the White Walkers, the ice. 10,000 ships. Rhaenyra Targaryen and Alicent Hightower sit in the Red Keep Gardens under a strange wood tree to read some Westeros history. They end up discussing Nymeria, a Rhoynar queen who led her people from their ancestral lands in Essos to avoid the conquerors of old Valyria. Nymeria and her 10,000 ships arrived in Dorne, where Nymeria married Mors Martell. The wedding secured a new home for the Rhoynar, Nymeria, then burned the 10,000 ships to emphasize that there was no turning back, and also established House Martell as Dorne's ruling power for centuries to come. The Martells refer to themselves as Princess because of Nymeria, and all of them have the middle name Nymeros. However, Game of Thrones fans may recognize Nymeria as the name of Arya Stark's direwolf, which Arya chose specifically because of Queen Nymeria. Dragon Pit. The Dragon Pit, located on the Hill of Rhinus, is one of the most easily recognized buildings in King's Landing. Maegor Targaryen, also known as Maegor the Cruel due to his brutality, built it as a stable for the Targaryen family's dragons. During Aegon II's coronation, part of the dragon pit was destroyed in House of the Dragon season when Rhaenys rides her dragon Meyels through its walls. However, its eventual collapse symbolizes the fall of the Targaryen family and their dragons. The completely ruined dragon pit is seen in the Game of Thrones episode where Jon Snow, Hound, and others meet. They join forces against the threat from the supernatural White Walkers by presenting a captured White. Arya's dagger. A Valyrian steel dagger kept by Viserys is another hidden House of the Dragon trivia. Viserys contacted Rhaenyra after hearing that she and Daemon were spotted in a brothel. He shows a dagger that has been dipped in fire and has writing on it. The king reveals that it's a vision. Aegon the Conqueror saw that the prince that was promised, whose name will be a song of ice and fire, would be born from his blood. This is the same dagger that Tyrion Lannister owns, and that Peter Baelish used to dupe Houses Stark and Lannister into going to war with each other. The dagger ended up in the hands of Arya Stark. When an assassin tries to use it to kill a paralyzed Bran Stark, Bran is given the dagger as a souvenir by Peter Baelish, aka Littlefinger. Bran gave it to Arya, who slit Littlefinger's throat for conspiring against the Stark siblings before plunging it into the Night King and putting an end to the White Walker threat with a single move. Great Council of 101 AC. Viserys was chosen as King Jaehaerys' successor by the Great Council, and the council decided to place the crown on Bran Stark's head. Great Council was held at the Dragon Pit rather than Harrenhal, and Bran Stark was elected as Westeros' new ruler. With the lords of Westeros being so cool under pressure, any future wars for the Iron Throne are almost certain to be avoided. Meyels. We already know about the dragons of Rhaenyra Syrax, Daemon Caraxes, and Laenor Seasmoke. House Valyrian dispatched a fleet of ships to King's Landing, and 2 dragons can be seen flying in the sky. One of these, the gray one, is Laenor from Seasmoke. The other dragon is red, but lacks Caraxes' long skinny body. The new dragon was Rhaenyra Targaryen's dragon, Meyeli, nicknamed the Red Queen. This female dragon has copper stripes running down her red body and is one of the fastest dragons. During Aegon II's Targaryen's coronation, Meyels is chained in the dragon pit. Rhaenys eventually frees her and rides her out of the dragon pit, killing many small folk on the way to Dragonstone. Rhaenys and Meyels begin patrolling the gullet after Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen's coronation to cut off any shipping lane to King's Landing. Weirwood Tree. The massive heart tree of Winterfell has a distinctive image in Game of Thrones, although it was more usually associated with the north of Westeros. Rhaenys is found beside the Weirwood Tree in the Red Keep by Rhaenyra when she first arrives in King's Landing. Though Aegon the Conqueror's conversion to the faith of the Seven was primarily motivated by political considerations, Alicent has grown more devout and far from the Targaryens, such as Rhaenyra and Rhaenys, who continue to visit the Godswood. In Game of Thrones, Weirwood trees are worshipped as the old gods. Its white bark and blood-red leaves recognize the Weirwood. These trees typically have faces carved into the bark at the tree's center. The North kept faith with the old gods, and it was revealed that the Andals cut down the Weirwood trees in the south. It was a prominent fixture in Winterfell's Godswood, where the Stark siblings would discuss various issues, including the state of their family. Hey, that's all we got today, guys. Also, don't forget to thumbs up the video and subscribe for more entertaining content, and we'll see you again soon.